welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. It is a Wednesday, so of course that means it's time for another every Wednesday tradition here on the channel, which is a top 10 countdown. Now, as you know, if you follow the channel, most of these countdowns are either sports related or wrestling related, but this week's is not. This week I'm going off the cusp again and going to talk about something that's not sports related or wrestling related. And the reason why I do this is because I want people to know that if you follow the channel long enough, eventually, somewhere down the line, even though I try my best to be unbiased and call things like I see them and not favor any team in any sport ever, but just give my honest opinion, I don't want anybody to ever get offended by anything that I say because it's all in good fun. And we should never take sports seriously. Sports is supposed to be an escape from the real world, but it's not an escape from the real world if you get all excited about something that happened or something that somebody said. So we're supposed to have fun talking sports and wrestling, and fun when we're not talking sports or wrestling. And we did a video about vacation destinations, and we did a video about candy, and we did a video about TV comedies. Well, this week we're going to do one about music. So if you like music, no matter what kind of music you like, I'm sure you'll like this countdown because it's top 10 all-time best one-hit wonders. So if you have any thoughts on one-hit wonders from any genre, any decade, please feel free to comment and let me know, because this countdown is going to have basically pretty much any genre of music you can think of on it. But it's going to be all mainly older stuff, and that's not intentional. It's just nowadays you rarely see anybody only have one song and disappear. Nowadays, if anybody puts out a song and it makes it and it's big, they put out at least 2 or 3 more songs. But back in the day, there were a lot of bands and solo singers that would put out one song and then disappear. And one hit wonder can be a band or an artist who has one song and disappears, but it can also be an artist or a band that has 3 or 4 songs, but only the one song is really what they're known for. Or, one song gets in the top 5 and one song never gets inside the top 50. If a song doesn't make the top 50 countdown, most people aren't going to remember it. But these are going to be 10 songs to where if somebody told you the artist, you might say, "Who is that?" But if they told you the song, more than likely you would know the song. And if not, if they played it for you, you would say, "Oh yeah, I know that song." So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started on this week's top 10 countdown of all-time best one-hit wonders. And before I get into it, let me say thank you to my man Kevron. He commented, I believe, last Wednesday and told me that he enjoys watching my top 10 countdowns, and I enjoyed hearing that. So maybe he'll enjoy this countdown as well. Maybe there'll be a song on here that he will know. Number 10 on my list from 1997 was an artist by the name of Freak Nasty. He had a song called "Da Dip." Now, there's a radio station right up the road from here, and back when I was in high school, they used to have a top 30 countdown every week, and it was always the top 30 most requested songs of the week. And that song, I know, had to have been in the top 10 for the entire year of 1997. Number 9 on my list is "Bad Touch" by the Bloodhound Gang, a song that was originally released in 1999. Now, if the name Bad Touch doesn't sound familiar, go and listen to the song, and I promise you, you know the song. Number 8 on my list from 2001 was a band named The Calling, and the song was called Wherever You Will Go. Number 7 on my list is the only country song in the top 10, and it came out in 1990, and it was called Feed Jake. And it was by a band whose name was Pirates of the Mississippi. Now, as I was saying earlier, they're a band that had about 2 or 3 other songs, but the songs were never big. Unless you bought the album, you wouldn't know it. But if you heard Feed Jake, if you've ever in your life listened to country music, you know that song. Number 6 on my list is probably my favorite song on this top 10. To this day, I usually get my phone out at least 4 times a week and listen to this song. I just love this song. But it's 1972 by a man named Albert Hammond, and the song was called It Never Rains in Southern California. And before we get into our top 5, we'll recap numbers 10 through 6. Number 10 was Freak Nasty, Da Dip. Number 9 was Bad Touch by the Bloodhound Gang. Number 8 was The Calling, Wherever You Will Go. Number 7 was Feed Jake by Pirates of the Mississippi. And number 6 was Albert Hammond, It Never Rains in Southern California. And like I said, if you're a fan of music, any genre, any decade, please feel free to let me know what your favorite one-hit wonder song would be. I didn't want to narrow it down to just one decade or to just one genre, because then it would look like I was, showing favoritism towards one kind of music, and I love all kinds of music. So that's why I included all of them. But number 5 on my list from 1969 is Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum. And number 4 on my list just happens to be another song that came out in 1969. It was by a band called the Archies, and they had a huge song called Sugar, Sugar. And my mother, up until the day she died, always said that she thinks that that song was the best one-hit wonder song of all time. But it's number 4 on my list. Number 3 on my list is a song that came out in 1997. And there's a backstory to this song, but it was a huge hit. This is another song just like Albert Hammond that I normally go listen to 2 or 3 times a week because it's 24 years old and I still love it. But that's Bittersweet Symphony by a band called The Verve. Now, it can be confusing because there was also another band from that same time frame called The Verve Pipe. But this band was just called The Verve. And the song was called Bittersweet Symphony. But they actually got sued because of this song, and it was actually a misunderstanding. But they originally heard 6 notes to a song by the Rolling Stones called The Last Time. And if you've ever heard any song by the Rolling Stones, you've heard The Last Time. Well, they got permission from the Rolling Stones record company label to use those 6 notes as part of their song Bittersweet Symphony, but they did not get permission from the leader of the band of the Rolling Stones. So when the leader of the band of the Rolling Stones heard those 6 notes, the Rolling Stones sued The Verve. And originally they wanted, I believe it was like $1,000, but then when the song just took off, they sued The Verve entirely and wanted every piece of money that album or song ever made. But then in 2018, all the rights to the song got changed over to The Verve. But of course, I don't know if they still sell albums of that song or not. But it was called Bittersweet Symphony, and it had 6 notes from the Rolling Stones song that came out in 1965 called The Last Time. Number 2 on my list is the one-hit wonder song that my buddy from work, Edward, says is the best one-hit wonder song of all time. It came out in 1985, and it was by a band called Aha. and it was called Take On Me. And if you've ever heard anything from the 80s, you've heard that song. But in my opinion, the best one-hit wonder song of all time, the song never gets old, and it's probably not going to sound familiar to you with the band or the song, but if you hear it and you listen to it for 20 seconds, then you'll say, yeah, I know that song. It came out in 1967, and it was called Whiter Shade of Pale, and it was by a band called Procol Harum. And that is, in my opinion, the best one-hit wonder song of all time. And as I've already said, if you have any genre of music from any decade and you have a favorite one-hit wonder song, please feel free to let me know. And I'll go ahead and tell you some of the songs that barely missed the list. And that was Tonic. They had one song called If You Could Only See. And then Duncan Sheik, which, believe it or not, was just one man. The man's actual name was Duncan Sheik. He had a song called Barely Breathing. And then Chumbawamba had a song called Tub Thumping. And the only reason that song didn't make my top 10 was because that was their only hit over here in the U.S., but they were a big-time band overseas. They had numerous hits over in the U.K., so I thought, well, since they had numerous hits over in the UK, I can't really put them on the list because that was the only song they had in the US. Because if you followed them, they were a big-time band back in the 90s over in the UK. But Tub Thumping, my mama always said was the stupidest song that ever came out. But when I was a teenager, I personally liked the song. And then we've got Sister Hazel. They had one song, and it was called All For You. Now, the Verve and their song Bittersweet Symphony, and Tonic's If You Could Only See, and Duncan Sheik's Barely Breathing, and Chumbawamba's Tub Thumping, all those songs pretty much came out around the same time. So if you liked pop music back in the 90s, you've probably heard every one of those songs. Another song that barely missed my list was a song by a band named Eagle Eye Cherry, and they had a song called Save Tonight. And it was a big song, but the songs I put on my list were songs that, whether I liked them or not, songs that just sold millions and millions and millions and millions of copies, because back in the day, before all this technology, that's how you determined how popular a song was radio airplay and how many albums or CDs did it sell. So all the songs on my list, whether I liked them or not, were songs that were popular based on radio airplay and album sales. And to me, those are 10 songs that anybody that's ever listened to any kind of music for any period of time has probably heard at least a snippet of all of those songs. And before we get out of here for the day, let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day. Why should you never lie to your x-ray technician? They can see right through you. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.